Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
So James Harden does a sit-down interview with Chris B. Haynes of Yahoo Sports. James Harden recently did an interview with Hot Time Magazine, who he's actually partnering with, the brand Hot, and having his own wine collection. We will get into that later on in the show. Like I said, it's been a long weekend. But James Harden did a sit-down interview. He dropped a lot of gems, talked about his relationship with Joel Embiid, his desire to win, why he took the pay cut, and just really a lot of stuff. As you can see, just in the tweet by Chris Haynes, he says, James Harden told Daryl Morey, quote, to sign who we needed and to give me whatever is left. We've talked a lot about the pay cut here on this channel, what it meant, what it allowed us to do. James Harden made a selfless decision, and he really made the best choice for the team. And he didn't have to do that, but he sat down and he did. And it showed a lot about his character. This was my instant reaction here on Twitter. Once again, follow me at RB Philly Take. This is really my main thought about this. This is a guy who truly wants to win. He truly wants to win, man. He was made out to be the bad guy. He was made out to be the bad guy in all the other situations. He was the problem child, right? But here he is making a selfless decision. Age 33, takes a $15 million pay cut. He didn't have to do that. He did not have to do that. And personally, I feel that, he's at the point in his career where he's done everything. He's an MVP. He's won the scoring title. He's an all-star, all that stuff. He wants to win a championship. When it's all said and done, and he's sitting down the line, chilling with his boys, his rappers, celebrities, he wants to tell them some stories about winning a championship. That is the last thing to put the icing on the cake for James Harden. And, he continues to make these selfless decisions, man. And he said he was going to at the end of the season, and he has stuck to his word thus far. So shout out to James Harden. But here's more on what he said. We'll break down the article later on, but overall, these were some of the main quotes that were pulled from this article. Number one, as we just mentioned, he told Daryl Morey to essentially go improve the roster. You go do the work. I trust you, Daryl Morey. You are my guy. And then you give me what's left over. We'll make this work. You're my guy. I'm your guy. We're going to build a really good team. We're going to add what we need to, make some renovations, and we're going to go chase a freaking championship in 2022, man. That's what I like to see. That's what I like to see. And we've already talked about how he's betting on himself, right? Because it's likely that he's going to opt out of the first year, or after the first year. It's a 2-year deal, player option on the second year. It's likely he opts out, but, he wants to bet on himself. That's going to motivate him to be better. The other thing that he said, as I kind of just alluded to, he says, quote, I want to compete for a championship. That's all that matters to me at this stage. He's done everything. Go and read about everything he's done. He's stacked up the accolades. He's done this. He's done that. At the end of the day, when you talk about the all-time greats, well, you got to win a championship. You have to win a championship. And, people can debate that all they want. The fact of the matter is, what is the first thing that comes up many times in conversations is, how many rings does he have? How many rings does he have? And I'm actually going to go out on a limb here and say something that I haven't really said, but you know what? I think this is the Sixers' best opportunity. Even in the past year, 2 years, 3 years, I think this season is actually our best shot, which we'll discuss later on. But, based off of what we have done, based off of the landscape, how I predict some of the other teams to be, and based off of who we've added, and the hopeful expectation that James Harden can come back healthy, because he can continue to do the right things, but James Harden, has to show up on the floor. He has to show up much better, and he's constantly talked about his trainer getting him in the right shape, having an off season to kind of get healthier and get more accustomed to this team. So I like what I'm hearing, man. This is an athlete saying the right things. It is such a switch up. It's such a breath of fresh air from what we have had to go through over the last couple seasons. More on this, James Harden, in the article, in the interview. He says, quote, I wasn't right last season, and I still almost averaged a triple-double. I mean, when you look at his numbers, I mean, there's still pretty good numbers for a guy that had a down season. And I remember all the people throwing him under the dirt. That's why I said before, he needs a sincere apology from some people. Obviously, that doesn't excuse him, from coming out and playing bad the way he did. But, I mean, I think a lot of people wanted the massive expectations to play out right away when, in reality, he didn't really play that much with this team. It still takes time to get used to. And, Harden just essentially alludes to the fact that he's going to get better. And he's going to mesh more with this squad, with Joel, with Tyrese Maxey. So, I mean, I'm excited. Another quote that I liked from James Harden, talking about Joel Embiid. He says, I talk with Joel frequently. We have meetings about how we're going to play, how we, what we need to do to help our team win the chip. We're going to grow together. We're going to try to lead this team to the top. I believe we can do it together. I mean, that is just it's just so natural. Once again, I'm not going to name names, but thinking back to other people on this franchise, right? It was always questioned. What is it like between those two off the court? What is it like when it comes to their relationship? I mean, Harden seems to fit right in. He always says the right thing, and it's just nice to hear. Now, again, he needs to show up. He needs to play well, but these are the types of things that a Philadelphia fan base can get behind. Like, this is a guy I want to go run through a brick wall for when you're saying things like this. This is the type of attitude that we need from our top tier players, from your stars. And man, it's just nice to hear. And, I hope some people are buying in. I hope they are. The other thing that James Harden said when he was talking about the whole triple-double thing, he says, people were used to seeing me average 40, 30 points, and they viewed it as a down year, talking about this past year. He says, I was in Philly for a couple of months, and I had to learn on the fly. I'm in a good space physically and mentally right now, and I'm just looking forward to next season. That is what I like to hear, man. Again, trying to get in the right shape, staying in the gym, working with coaches, willing to accept you need to get better. I mean, just that little nugget. He said it multiple times now. I have to get better. I have to play better. We don't need 40-point James Harden. We need efficient James Harden next to Joel, next to Maxey. We need efficient James Harden. And I truly think that, he was battling a lot. I think he was. He talks in this article as well about, how his hamstring wasn't completely healthy. And this is something I sat up here and said for months. I don't think he was right. Now, again, doesn't excuse him from playing that bad, but you can kind of just tell when a guy is not 100%. And he got traded to Philly. He hadn't played in weeks. He looked good right off the bat. And I think his body started to have some of that wear and tear. And I think come playoff time, just like a lot of other people, he wasn't 100%. I don't think he was anywhere near it. And I think just everything combined and the motivation he will have to come back healthy and ready to go, try to earn another contract for his career, a longer-term contract, I think all of that together creates a mutual beneficial relationship. And I think, both parties will be happy. I hope he comes out and plays well. But I love the attitude. I love what we're hearing from James Harden. He's not going to bail. He's here to stay. He's here to stay this year. He's ready to go. And if everybody can stay healthy, I know it's a big if, this team could be good, especially with some of the moves that we have made. Shouts to my guy, Kendrick Perkins, man, constantly speaking the gospel, holding it down on ESPN. He says, James Harden is proving that he is all in on winning a title in Philadelphia. Quote, his actions are actually speaking. His actions are saying, let's get this done. I want to win a championship. Everybody made him out to be the bad guy. Meanwhile, where's Kyrie Irving? What's going on with the KD situation? Your guess is as good as mine. Meanwhile, James Harden is in the gym every day, doing the cardio, trying to get his body in the right shape, ready to admit his shortcomings, ready to get better. That is a guy that Philadelphia can ride behind. So you can talk about his play all you want. He didn't play up to par. We know that. A lot of players didn't. He's ready to work and get better. And if he does, Well, the rest of the league is going to see how that'll play out. The rest of the league will be on notice.
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.